Okay, I broke it again. Alright, how's it going everybody? Back in the garage again. I have another video today. I'm tearing down a transmission. This one's going to be a little bit different than the older one. The other videos I have are on the 32 series transmission. This one is on the 70 series transmission. I know you might not be able to tell by this current pile of parts, but this is a 70 series transmission, not like the older video. So basically, broke something in this transmission. I couldn't exactly find what upon tearing everything down. What I ended up doing is, so this is the transmission that I had in the Sentra. I went ahead and picked up another 70 series transmission. This one being a non-LSD, as you can tell by the lack of hump right in this location. So although it's not an LSD trans, I'm not worried about that. My case and everything like that is good on that one over there. What I am going to take out of this transmission is the gear stacks. I think my issue on this is something in my gear stacks. So this selector right here only moves in one direction, whereas all the other ones have full free range movement over both gears. So I'm assuming I jammed something up in that location. Everything in this transmission over here should be everything I need to fix that one over there. So let's tear this one down and find out if that is true. Alright, so before we get started, let's go ahead and go over a list of all the tools you'll need to tear the sucker apart. Starting with, kind of most importantly, you will need to get a roll pin punch set. You're going to need a couple different sizes, so definitely going to want to pick one of these up. I got this off of Amazon for like 15 bucks, or less than that probably. Not very expensive. You're also going to need some sort of hammer to obviously use the roll pins. You will need both styles of C-clip pliers. You will need a small magnet like that, like a pretty small tipped magnet, a telescoping one because you'll need it to be pretty long. You will need a 10 mil, a 12 mil. The 12 mil probably better to have on a larger ratchet. That'll be for getting all the bolts around the outside of the case. You will need a little bit of oomph on those, just for the sake of fitting everything in the frame. I just have the 1/4 inch out here, but you will need a 10 mil and a 12 mil. You'll need a couple different picks. You could probably get away with one, but I like to have a couple different ones. Made it a little bit easier. You'll need a large pry bar and or screwdriver flathead. You need a 12 mil wrench, and somewhat optional, but I would highly recommend it as it made it 10 times easier. A slide hammer with a set of vice grips on the end. You can get away with, like in the write-ups I've seen, they just use pliers and pull the reverse idler gear out. But this made it 10 times easier, and I still had to use a little bit of heat. So I guess I don't have it pictured here, but a torch would be another optional but recommended tool to have before diving into this. So that's the small amount of tools you will need to tear the 70 series apart. Let's go ahead and get into it. Need to get you a 10 mil. Go ahead and take this plate off right here. Like so. Get a big old screwdriver. There's a little recess right there. You can pop that guy off. Put it to the side. I like to throw the bolts that you just took out in the cap for that. So then you want to take these 5 off, or 6 actually on this plate. Pop that plate off as well. Set it to the side. Then take your C-clips here. Try to remove the C-clip. Alright. Now that you got that out, go ahead, thread one of the bolts. Thread one of the 10mm bolts into the end of this shaft here. This is the reverse idler shaft. So if the threads are really rusted out on that, it's definitely going to be a good idea. Go ahead and chase that with a tap or a like a cleaner tap. Or this is what you'll end up having to do. I snapped a bolt off in this on my other transmission and had to weld a bolt onto the end there. So I'm going to go ahead and probably end up using this reverse idler shaft, as it, like I said, should be exactly the same as my other 7 Series. So then the easiest way I found to get this idler shaft out, well, granted I've only done it one time, but I failed my first attempt. So my second attempt, what I went ahead and did is, I have a slide hammer. I put some vice grips on the end of here. Go ahead and dial that bad girl in. Get it clamped down on there, and lightly alright, so it's not going. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is heat up the surrounding aluminum with a blowtorch, hopefully expanding that aluminum and making it so the shaft slides right up. As you can saw, once I warmed it up a little bit, this sucker just slid relatively right out. You may want to be a little bit more cautious with the heat on your own transmission. Like I said, I won't be using this case, so I wasn't really too worried. But yeah, I don't think I harmed anything regardless. So once you have the reverse idler shaft removed, go ahead and pop out the reverse idler gear. Be careful to keep the bearing and the upper shim on that as well. And then go ahead and remove the lower gear shim. Set those aside. Keep note of which way the shim was in there, or just pay attention to my video. Shim was going down like that. And also the shims are, as you can see, they are slotted or gated or however you want to say. And so that way the idler shaft can only go in one direction on those. And at this point I'm going to go ahead, pop this all the way into first gear, such as similar on the 32 series when you're getting this big C-clip off. There's also, it's hard to get off because of the grease, but there is a spacer here, or a shim, for the end cap. There we go. Go ahead and set that aside as well. Keep note of the orientation. Not sure if it matters, but I like to keep note of everything I'm doing. Then you're going to want to go ahead and get some C-clip pliers, or I also just like to just use needle nose pliers and a pick. Alright, I'm resorting to the real thing. First shot with the real thing. So, at this point, you're going to want to go ahead and take out, there is two, I believe these were 14mm at the bottom here. Let me double check. Yep, there's two 14mm at the bottom. Go ahead and take that out. Take that out. Then you'll want to take your long skinny magnet. And there, each one of those, there is a spring, a little ball bearing. Keep note of those. So now that those are removed, you can go ahead, take out all of the 12 mils around the entire case, split the case open. Alright, so at this point you have all your bolts out of the case. Take another big screwdriver, go ahead and start prying up on the case. Gently, of course. Very gently. And once you get it started, you can just work around it a little bit till it's separated all the way. And then, now unlike the 32 series where you kind of have to pull the case up, twist it, and then continue pulling up, this, I believe, once you get it separated completely, there we go, this can be lifted directly off as so. Alright, so then this, basically, there you have the internals of the 70 series.